If you weren't an awakening wonder, you wouldn't even be here. Hello, welcome to another week of news and information. And when I say news, is it me on-scene assistant Gareth Roy, or has the world gone all unusual?
It has.
When I was growing up, it weren't billionaires weren't having cage fights.
No.
That weren't what it was. Like, they weren't like billionaires having a cage fight. They were like being
Or in balloons, hot
They were
air
in a
balloons.
balloon. Like the most extravagant one we had a very neatly trimmed beard and will go up in a balloon. That's it. It's not like I'll have you, other billionaires. I'll do you. See you, mate. I'll nut you. I'll have you.
Although Branson versus Gates, now that would be a
Branson
fight.
v Gates. It's a grudge match. Let's get them wrinkly old knuckles bare and bashing at one another. So, yeah, of course, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are going to have a cage fight. That's unusual. We're going to be talking about the submersive Titan. That's what it's known as, isn't it? It's the submersive Titan. And I will be offering you Jungian analysis about how it's an attempt to revive a relic at the bottom of the ocean. Deep within ourselves, there is information. There is a story that we want more from. Also, it's a story of inequality, because you wouldn't be getting in a submarine unless you could afford to. It's extraordinary, this age of exploration. Let me know in the chat and the comments if you feel grief for those lost, or if you think it's a distraction from the Hunter stuff. Let me know. I'm interested in you. If you're watching this on Rumble right now, press the red button. Do yourself a favour. Join us in Locals. It's part of a community. We've got some exciting news coming for that community. I can hardly wait to tell you. We're gonna start a whole new movement. I'm not going to use the word cult because a lot of people don't like that. In fact, it is a pejorative term for sure. But we're starting a new movement, and it's going to be really, really exciting. Guess who's coming on? Jeffrey Sachs. Jeffrey Sachs is coming on the show. If you don't know who Jeffrey Sachs is, he's one of the first people that explained that the war between Ukraine and Russia had been, if not caused, certainly agitated by NATO infringement of former Soviet Union territories. He explained it. He's a brilliant, brilliant thinker, a great teacher. He's one of those people that it's really hard for the establishment to discredit, because when you listen to him, you think, well, you're just a perfectly reasonable person. It's like journalists like Taibbi and Schellenberger that I did that free speech event with last week, which was gratefully, I acknowledge, was attended by Stella Assange. You realise that there are so many credible people now that are unwilling to put up with this elite establishment corruption, that it can't be that everyone's suddenly turned into some mad right-wing conspiracy theorist. It can't be that. But if you're watching us on YouTube, join us on Rumble, and you will learn there for yourself that free speech is not the free speech to hate one another. That's not why we want free speech. We want free speech to attack the establishment, and we will have to stop broadcasting on YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or Gut Bucket or Tickle Pickle or all of the main sites, all of them. We'll have to stop broadcasting on them, because in a minute we're going to be talking about Chris Whitty. He's our version of Fauci, although he's not allowed to accept money from pharmaceutical companies. Not that I'm suggesting that...
Royalties, Russ.
Royalties. That was a royalty.
It's a royalty.
How dare... Because royalty, that's the best thing, isn't it? You can't criticise a royalty. How dare you? That's my royalties. Yeah, fair enough. Chris Whitty, he organised our COVID response, and he said that he was... I mean, I've got to be careful how I say this, but was the scientist determining the response, and he said he would not have called...
Kind of.
He said that
scientists would not have called for lockdown.
Scientists, he said, like, I'm guessing Einstein,
that's right,
all of those guys would not have called for a lot. It's going to be interesting. Look, we can't even talk about it on YouTube. That's the truth, because of the WHO money, because of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's why we can't talk about it. But first, if you thought billionaires couldn't be... And we'll be talking about that coup as well a bit, won't we? That coup. Is it a coup or is it a distraction? Join us over on Rumble. Do you think this is a convenient coup? Do you think this coup... And apparently they've been talking to him. What's his name again? Prigozhin. Oh, Prigozhin. Prigozhin's a mercenary killer, I tell you.
Yeah.
He's a mercenary. Have you seen his face?
He's a warlord.
He's a warlord. He's not like, oh, this guy, Prigozhin's come along, everything's going to be okay. He's not like a friendly dude. He's not Nelson Mandela.
No.
Is he? He's like a Russian warlord. He's a bully boy.
Let's get behind him.
I like him. Anyway, we're going to be telling you about that coup. Do you reckon, though, before I get into it, do you think this is a convenient distraction from the failing Ukrainian counter-offensive, where 1,000 Ukrainians a day are dying, which is a great stain, again, on this terrible, terrible ongoing conflict that many people believe, and we'll be asking Jeffrey Sachs, who's an expert, about this. Is this war being perpetuated simply because it's advantageous to imperialist interests, by which I mean the long-term state imperatives of the United States military-industrial complex, both politically and economically. You tell me in the chat. I don't know. I'm just a sweet little guy. But first, let's see what Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are doing. They're agreeing, apparently, to fight in a cage. Is that the world we're living in? Is that a benefit to anybody? Let's see how Fox News talking about this issue, shall we?
For real, David? Do you think it's for real?
I think it's if they put an angle on it, like raising money, doing something good with it.
It's a bit weird, billionaires having a fight to raise, and they've got so much money.
Yeah.
We've got to raise money. I know, lemonade stand outside the house. Well, what about all these billions, baby?
Yeah, all Mark Zuckerberg has to do is wait for a couple of minutes.
Right, we've got to raise billions. Wait. There it is, we've raised it. Right, there you go. Let's raise. We need a couple more. Wait. There they are. A couple more billions. All he has to do is nothing.
Yeah.
He's already done that. He's already raised billions by out of his brain, him and them twins, played by Armie Hammer, and the other lad that was Spider-Man, comed up with Facebook.
Yeah.
Did they get, was that CIA investment, or is that Google?
I think it might be Google.
It's weird how the state knows all these lads in their garages have got a good idea ahead of time, isn't it? There's a lad in his garage. There's a little kid in his garage coming up with a hell of a scheme.
And that's what DARPA's all about.
What?
DARPA.
DARPA.
Oh, we'll get into that another time.
No, not the Batcaves. Is this the bloody Batcaves?
That's right, yeah.
There's something foul in Wuhan, baby. Let's see what Fox News have got to say next.
Billionaires to help, somebody. My pick, Musk. And I'll tell you why. Yes, 5'7" versus 6'1", all the height and
About it like it's a proper fight. Has the world gone mad? I mean, it's all cool when Logan Paul and KSI have a brawl. Yeah, that's cool. And when Floyd Mayweather and our man Conor McGregor get together and have fisticuffs, that's all cool. But now it's actual billionaires having. I mean, what's that actually going to look like? What's it actually going to look? They're going to do facial expressions that are unusual, aren't they? Like they'll do things like this, like. Ah! They're not used to fighting. Like sort of, like if someone goes like that, ah! Like they'll twitch and stuff.
You want to see it though, don't you?
Yeah, that will be quite good actually. I do want to see it. They're analysing it though strategically. Yeah. Well, Musk has got a superior reach. What if Musk has like a rocket launcher like Iron Man up his fist, like and all that? And there's a bit where this woman in a minute, when she's analysing it, says like that Elon Musk could use his wisdom. Yeah. Like, he can't use wisdom.
And Zuckerberg's been spying on Musk as he spies on us all anyway and been selling his data.
Wait a minute, what's he doing now? He's training. What Stat is doing in his yard is practicing with Joe Rogan. I'll get you, you son of a gun. They're taking ivermectin. Well, that won't work on anything except various horse parasites, which I don't imagine they've got.
Weight difference, but it's an attitude when you're in the octagon. When you look at guys like Frank Mir, Dana White, when you look at all these guys, Tyrus, when they get in that octagon, when they get into that ring as boxers or as fighters, it's all about the attitude. Right. You go in ready to do it. And I don't think Zuckerberg, who's more of a soy boy, can keep up with Musk, who's an alpha.
Alpha maledom is contextual. Yeah. There are certain contexts where you go, well, this is the dominant male in this situation, but not in other situations. And Zuckerberg with Lex Friedman, he looked pretty good. Handy. Shout out to Lex there, who makes fantastic podcasts, as we all know. But like when they were rolling together, as you know, Gal, I'm an experienced Brazilian jiu-jitsu expert. I'm one of the best ones.
I think that's why you're on this rant now.
Anger, jealousy?
Yeah, well, you're anchoring for an invite at some point.
Yeah, what, to brawl one of them?
Well, someone.
Problem is with me, Gal, is like I sometimes bring the wrong mood to events.
Right.
Like, you don't remember when I'm at award ceremonies and I'm in the wrong type of mood. That's right. This is the MTV Video Music Awards and I'm experiencing deep ennui and a sense of meaninglessness. No, excitement. Oh, sorry, yeah, that. Like,
and
go into the wrong mood.
Nihilist Russell Brand.
Hey, nothing means anything. Nothing at all unless you find God deep within yourself, and you're not going to find him here. Here's Jay-Z. Like, it's the wrong way to run the good ship MTV.
You're right. You wouldn't be in the right mood.
Lost my job.
Talk you into it.
If I was fighting Zuckerberg, like I do roll in, I do BJJ, and I have to, like, even then sometimes I'm not in the right mood. I feel like, you know when you sort of feel like you got a little bit of an upset stomach, and you think, oh, I don't want someone to lean on me now and crack all the cartilage in my shoulder, or stop me breathing, or feel someone's stubble go all up my face, or have someone's, and I use this word politely, ball bag, like sort of down in my gullet. Yeah, right. Like sometimes you don't need that. Now, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are going to have to get comfortable with each other's nutsacks, baby. Okay. Nutsack, baby.
Okay. Do you want me to respond?
Yeah.
I did the first 4 UFCs where it's a 600-pounder, like we had a sumo wrestler. That was before there were rounds. You had to be knocked out or choked out to do it, so you could go watch them online. If I watched a 160-pound guy crush 250-pound guys, if you know jiu-jitsu, if Zuckerberg's really training and Elon Musk prides himself on not training at all, he'll last 45 seconds.
Yeah, but Elon has a move that he calls the walrus, and so he just lies on top of his opponent and does nothing because he is larger in stature.
You know what? I changed my vote. Then that sounds like, how do you beat that? How do you beat that?
Yeah, the whole world's become ironic.
Yes, I think it is that, isn't it?
That's not good. Like, irony can't feed off of itself. Now, I'm going to offer you a bit of a Marxist dialectic now. Of course, the centralising of economic power to state authority, we know how that goes, and it ends up with Stalinism and Maoism and all of those things. So, yeah. But he said that we will enter into a time where everything becomes like irony and pastiche and parody, that everything will lose its sincerity. And when you're seeing news stories about we're going to dig up the Titanic now in a submarine and billionaires are fighting one another and like that, but you can't have presidential debates. And politics has become entertainment. Entertainment is politics. Like, you know, the look at sport. People, you care about the political opinions of sporting stars, and there's all sorts of political messaging held within sport. That's always been the case because a lot of sport derives from war. They say sport is sanitized war, and I'm not saying that if it's wrong to promote LGBTQ plus stuff, then maybe you shouldn't have national emblems around poppies and things like that. Maybe you have to look at all of it. But it's like there's a reversal of the charge of our culture. That which is entertainment has become very pious. Like, look at movies. Look at someone like The Critical Drinker, the analysis he will give you and how movies have been affected by cultural trends. Then actual economics. You have billionaires brawling each other. You have entertainers becoming politicians. You have RFK doing push-ups for reasons I simply cannot even begin to understand. But what I will tell you is RFK, he's shredded, baby. He hench. We've had RFK on here. He's Rumble's new favourite son. He's a Kennedy. Let's have a look at RFK doing push-ups, and why don't we objectify RFK?
Yeah, why not?
Let's objectify his body. In a minute, we're going to be looking at the Titanic submarine thing. We're also going to be looking at this coup. What do you think about the coup? Is it a distraction? Are NATO involved in talking to, what's he called? Prigozhin.
Prigozhin. Yeah.
Prigozhin. Yeah, because one of the things he said indicates, like, he sort of gave NATO a shout out. I'm doing this because for NATO. It's like a weird thing to mention NATO. Anyway, let's look at RFK doing these push-ups, baby.
Okay. Let's go.
You're nodding. You're nodding at the pecs, Cal.
Come on, I'd love those.
He could be
on myself.
You'd love those. You don't want them.
I don't just want him in front of me.
You don't want to motorboat him. Do you think he should be in the Expendables?
Yes.
He could be in the Expendables, couldn't he?
Could.
I'm not saying he is expendable. I'm saying he's very necessary for the discourse right now, because we need to have some radical views brought to the centre, and RFK is trying to do that. Many people are discrediting him. Many people refuse to debate him. That debate, wouldn't that be great to have that on Rumble?
Maybe this is now the only way you get some media coverage.
He's got to have a fight.
You've got to have a fight, and you've got to look stacked.
I will fight Dr. Peter Hortez. It's the flying bow tie.
It's the only way the media are going to cover him and not censor him.
He's willing to fight that guy. What's he called? Hortez or Horetz?
Yeah, Hortez. Yeah, Peter
Will
Hortez.
he fight Hortez? Hortez. Well, I don't have to fight anybody. I'm a scientist. I don't need to put my dicky bow around my nut bag
Because you
and
think
fight RFK.
with Zuckerberg, you know, there was that recent fine, wasn't there? Because we were all talking about the Dominion law case and how much that Fox got fined.
$750 million?
I think Facebook's was more than that. And so I'm not suggesting that this is a distraction from that kind of stuff, but it could be argued, couldn't it?
Tell me in the chat, is it a distraction?
Because of privacy issues that, you know.
Is it a distraction from your privates? Right, we've had a look at enough. Don't be distracted from your privates. That's what I say. They're down there. The Titan submersible. Why was its implosion not announced sooner? Some people are saying it's a distraction. I'll tell you who's rinsing it. James Cameron. James Cameron, this is Cameron's Christmas, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Any Titanic event for Cameron, he's come right out of his shell. I know, James Cameron, obviously, no one can denounce the auteur of Terminator, Terminator 2, and of course, notably, Titanic. The question I want to put to you, and really tell me, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, join us on Rumble, because in a minute, we're going to be talking about the pandemic response in the UK. We're going to be talking to Jeffrey Sachs about matters in Russia and whether or not this coup is part of a distraction to distract us, specifically from the Ukraine Ukrainian counteroffensive, which by all accounts ain't going bad, and there's a NATO conference coming up where they're not going to want to sit around going, oh, no, our ideas are terrible. It'd be much better to discuss, oh, look, there's a destabilised Russia, Putin's facing public dissent. Is it a distraction? Tell us. Jump over there. Press the red button if you're watching us on Rumble. But I want to offer you this bit of analysis. We're not here just to give you anti-establishment information. That is one of our primary goals. We're also here to let you know that as a man who believes in God, I believe that there are deep ulterior forces that are present in everyday life, sometimes in ways that are inexplicable to us, difficult to understand. What is our ongoing fascination with the story of the Titanic, a vessel that was constructed at a similarly hubristic time, where titans of industry defined their age as the titans of the current day do now, where the Titanic was literally named the unsinkable before its consummation with that iceberg? What lays down there now? Those jewels scattered, those broken mirrors. What is our ongoing fascination with a vessel that we know, mostly from the film, had super rich people that got better access to the lifeboats and a poorer class of people who, if the film's to be believed, were having a fantastic time down there dancing away in steerage with Leonardo DiCaprio? When the culture has a fascination with something, it means that I believe that there's information and energy in it. The Titanic tells us something. It tells us something about hubris. It tells us something about inequality. And I would offer you this main point. As when the Titanic went down, that was 1912. Human beings were almost boundless in their pursuit of power. And what was just around the corner? World War I. Unprecedented death. Unprecedented destruction. Then World War II. Could we similarly be at a point of global conflagration? Could the advent of emergent AI be this precipitating event that we're being confronted with and confronted by? Does the Titanic hold this fascination for us because we know deep, deep down in our belly, deep, deep down in our bones, deep, deep down is where the secrets are, where the mystery is? And why is it that this place is only accessible to elites? What are the stories we're being told? Why is it only Jeff Bezos can go to space? Elon Musk can go to space. Billionaires can explore the depths. What does that tell us about our species? What does it tell us about our time? Should we have a look at what James Cameron's got to say? Because he's the man who knows. He's talking about this like he invented the Titanic and forgotten that the Titanic actually wasn't a very good boat after all, because it just fell apart at the first sign of a bloody iceberg.
Well, I've been down there many times, and I know the wreck site very well, as does my friend Bob Ballard. I've made 33 dives. I actually calculated that I've spent more time on the ship than the captain did.
Actually know more about the Titanic than the people that designed the Titanic. If I'd been driving it, it wouldn't have sank. I look at the numbers for Titanic, biggest film of all time, Titanic 2, coming out soon.
Back in the day. And of course, as a submersible designer myself, I designed and built a sub to go to the deepest place in the ocean, 3 times deeper than Titanic.
Yeah, he's naturally almost laughing in their faces, isn't he? I actually regularly go to the ocean floor, and I've never imploded. I feel better than ever.
So I understand the engineering problems associated with building this type of vehicle and all the safety protocols.
He's saying they should have come to me. Should have come to me. I would have told them. I'd have built them a better submarine. I'm only mucking about with James Cameron, of course, and all of that. But it's a weird approach to the interview.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with this at the moment, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, obviously the media coverage, you can understand why people are saying this is a distraction, because the media coverage is everywhere. In the same way the media coverage is everywhere when, for example, Jeff Bezos goes to space. It's the same thing, that it's wall to wall. They're very, obviously, incredibly supportive of billionaires and these explorations, where at a time when a wealth transfer goes on, you can understand why there's a kind of public outcry and anger at billionaires hoovering up all our money and then using it to go off on these explorations.
I get it, Gareth, because what it suggests is that billionaires are intrepid and better than us, and they're doing all these expeditions into previously unforeseen economic territories and geographical territories. They deserve their wealth, is the underlying information. Look at Jeff Bezos. He's going to space on a cock rocket. When was the last time you designed a cock rocket? What, out of blue tack, sat around on your butt with scotch tape doing nothing much? Like, it's Yes, like built in it is the idea of meritocracy, that there is indeed a superior set of beings. Never any mention of the favourable tax breaks that are made, the way that Amazon had $5 billion in tax breaks just recently. You know, they've got time and money to go explore in the depths, haven't they? A lot of people in the Hattie Hope says, entitlement. Bezos' penis couldn't go in water, says Rational Anarchy. I think you mean his rocket, don't you? Not his actual winky, which I mean, that would be a hell of a disorder. We're still on YouTube. I mean, I don't want to get a YouTube strike for talking about Jeff Bezos' winky woo.
No.
Jeff Bezos' what's name? Everything about Jeff Bezos, himself, his rocket, and presumably his penis, is somewhat evocative of the male reproductive organ. Let me know in the chat if you agree with that little piece of analysis. Now, we're going to move away from the submarine now, having offered you analysis from every conceivable angle. Reports say US intelligence knew Prigozhin was planning mutiny in Russia. Let's have a look at how the mainstream media report on this coup.
In Russia tonight, state television is not showing these stunning images. Russians cheering for the leader of this weekend's aborted rebellion.
Like us, we on our mainstream news show you both sides of the story. This is from NBC, is it, saying that? How do they have the stones, the minerals, the balls to come out and criticise state media in Russia? Of course Russia has a propagandist media. Of course they do. But, as your man Trump used to say, would you think we were any better?
And his soldiers as they leave the city of Rostov-on-Don. Their mutiny bringing the country to the brink of chaos less than 24 hours ago, when Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, led a march to Moscow.
The group are a privately funded army that are currently in dispute of Putin because he believed they should be corralled into the main Russian war effort. What we're interested in, and let me know if you share our interest in the chat and the comments. If you're watching us on YouTube, join us over on Rumble now. If you're on Rumble, press the red button and join us on Locals, because I want to know, do you believe that NATO communicated with and collaborated with our man over there, Prigozhinov, or whatever he's called? Sorry for being disrespectful about people with non-Western sounding, normal sounding, by my rubric, names. Do you think that? And do you think that the media are reporting on this in a biased manner? And do you think it's important that there's a NATO conference coming up that would otherwise have been dominated by the failure of the Ukrainian counteroffensive, where now they can focus on the lack of stability within Russia? I've got an on-screen expert who can answer some of those questions.
Definitely not an expert.
Oh, no, you're an assistant, aren't you? I want to change your credit. If only we had someone here that worked on the team that could whip up graphics in an instant, reliably. Like good old bad graphics Jack. You should be called something like on-screen amanuensis. I mean, you're a producer is what you are really, and a writer.
Okay. I mean, so...
let me write that down.
With this, I think the thing with this is obviously what the media in the US is saying is that, you know, this isn't being covered responsibly in Russia, but... This feels, from everything that we're kind of reading about this today, like in a sense it's a kind of self-contained matter. That Putin and Prigozhin are two sides of the same coin. They're both kind of warlords to an extent, committing illegal things. Prigozhin is a billionaire. And
he's another billionaire.
Yeah, and there was lots of disputes that the funding was going to be cut for the Wagner Group, that he was refusing to accept Putin's demand that Wagner be placed under the control of the army leadership. So there was disputes going on for a long time. And what it's kind of been surmised is this coup was in order to preempt actions against him. So I guess you could argue this was kind of a self-contained situation that doesn't necessarily pertain to the wider context of this war.
Oh, I see. It's its own separate narrative. It says in some content that we will be bringing you in more detail later in the week. For decades, Prigozhin and Putin were close allies until recently the Wagner Group, which originated within the Russian military intelligence GRU, enjoyed the evident patronage of Putin and other powerful forces within the state apparatus. Prigozhin, a fascistic warlord, billionaire and convicted criminal, represents a substantial faction of the Russian oligarchy that opposes the war solely because Putin's effort to protect the capitalist classes and the state's privileged access to the country's vast resources has cost them dearly. So if you see this story framed in a way that's favourable just because it happens to be an anti-Putin narrative, then you should know that Prigozhin ain't no hero. He seems like a member of the same class, ultimately. What is interesting, I believe, is the fact that he gave NATO that shout out before doing it, that NATO conference is coming up, that the Ukrainian counteroffensive doesn't appear to be going well. These are all questions we'll be following up with Jeffrey Sachs in a moment. You remember Jeffrey Sachs, don't you? He's a man who was spitting truths and got given the old heave-ho. Before we leave YouTube, let's have a look at that moment where Jeffrey Sachs made his bones, where we knew that Jeffrey Sachs was a truth teller because he was getting shut down by the mainstream media for spitting truths. Let's have a look at the expression that he famously gave in GIF form. Or the other one. Let's have a look. Here is Jeffrey Sachs.
This is
Jeff, we got to stop there. That's quite a statement as well.
Who can't love Jeffrey Sachs when you see him doing that expression? I'm going to get him to do that face. There he goes. We'll be getting him doing that face a little bit later. We can only assume that Jeffrey has got some powerful suction available to him there. If you're going to objectify RFK, why not? We're objectifying men in their 60s for no reason other than we feel like it, really. Is he wearing a wig, says Davros 200? No, that's his own hair. Good question, Davros. Yeah, while we're objectifying him, I'm going to give him a good tug. I'm going to tug him on the bonds. Okay, listen, we've got to leave YouTube.